I used to feel guilty if I told people no, even if the things that they were asking me to do weren't necessarily things that I wanted to do. Someone could ask me for a ride, and the ride is not like I'm going that way. It would literally take me all the way across town and around the mulberry bush. And I would say yes. People would invite me to events, and I'm just not an extroverted person in the first place. I don't like large crowds. And I would still say yes because I wanted to be seen as a good friend. I didn't want to tell people no. But as I've gotten older, as I've ascended, as I've started preserving my peace, I no longer feel guilty telling people no. For those of you guys who are new to my channel, hello, my name is Jasmine and I'm so glad to have you. And I love this space. I love telling people no to things that I just really don't feel like doing. And it used to be awkward. One thing if someone would ask me something, I would always, and it was something I didn't want to do, I would just say, let me get back to you. And then I would, buy myself some time and then, get irritated and frustrated because I'm like, why are they asking me to do this? I don't want to do this. I always do this for them. Why can't they ask someone else? I would go through that whole mental gymnastics loop of getting annoyed at the fact that they asked me just to turn around and say yes to the thing that I didn't really want to do. Now I just say, no, that's not going to work. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. Or no, I'm going to be in bed at that time. No, I already have things planned. No, I just don't feel like driving across town. No, no, no. And it feels great. Now listen, if it's something that you genuinely want to do or you don't mind helping this particular person, then there's nothing wrong with saying yes. I'm specifically talking about not volunteering, but agreeing to do things that you really don't want to do. That's what I no longer feel guilty about. And I think the reason I stopped feeling guilty about it is because I noticed other people do that too. And I never used to understand why. See, as a former people pleaser, I never used to understand why. I would actually get mad if someone wouldn't say yes to me if it was something that I needed, because I was a people pleaser and I knew I would have said yes to them even if it wasn't something I wanted to do. I didn't have boundaries. Now I have plenty of boundaries, okay? No longer feeling guilty for telling people no. Also, no longer feeling guilty for not loaning people money. That is something I used to struggle with a lot because in my mind, I would say things like, well, if I was on hard times, I might need someone to loan me money too. If I fell on hard times, I might need someone to give me a ride or, yada, yada, yada. But that's never happened. And even if it did happen, would they really loan me money? Would they really give me a ride? These particular people that I'm talking about, the answer is no. The answer is no. And I have always been someone who knew how to figure some ish out. I am 35 years old. And so far in life, I have always made sure that I haven't had to ask anyone for any money. And I've always made sure that I've had a working vehicle. It may have not been the best vehicle, but at least it got me from point A to point B. It might have made noise on the drive. It might have stalled out, but I got there. So if I'm capable of doing that for myself, why aren't you? Why is it this entire time that I've known you, you have been in struggle? I'm no longer cool with those type of friendships. I don't want to be in friendships where the friend I'm friends with is always in struggle. And I always got to be the one helping you because I'm not in struggle. Maybe you need to make some better choices in your life. And in the meantime, we're just not aligned. And I no longer feel guilty about it. I used to let people make me feel bad because I wanted friendships with people who were equally yoked. I don't believe that you should be asking your friend for money. You have banks, you have payday loans. Why are you putting your friend in a situation to where, and honestly too, I believe that when you ask people for money, you're kind of like putting a strain on the friendship because you're putting them in an uncomfortable position. Maybe they don't have it. Or maybe their fear is if they tell you no, even if they do have it, you're going to see them differently. And I just don't think that's a comfortable place to put a friend in the first place. And maybe you should just go without, because I've gone without. That's the thing that I feel like a lot of people who use people or who are always asking people for stuff, it's like sometimes you just have to go without the thing. Sometimes you just have to deal with the consequences of your poor decisions and not look for a bailout. And I don't feel guilty for telling people no anymore. There have been plenty of times, I told you guys in previous videos, where I didn't even know how I was going to pay my rent. Entrepreneurship is hard. Okay, it is hard as hell. Any real entrepreneur will tell you how hard and how stressful it is. You could have it one month and be down and out the next. But even when I'm down and out, I'm not calling this person, texting this person, asking for this, asking for that. I figure it out because I'm a grown-ass adult. Just like half these other people who are sitting around asking you for stuff. I don't let people make me feel guilty for telling people no. And you can call that mean. Go ahead and call it mean. But it just is what it is because, like I've said in other videos, the life you live is a direct reflection of the choices that you make. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. And I'm not sitting here judging people. You're allowed to make whatever choices you want to make. But then don't expect me to bail you out of those choices. Don't expect me to inconvenience myself because that's what you chose to do. And the quicker you can get that through your head, I promise you, the more peaceful of a life you'll have. And again, I'm not talking about wanting to help someone. If a friend of yours does come to you and ask you to do X, Y, and Z, and you genuinely want to do it, then fine. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the no longer feeling guilty if I don't want to. That's what I'm talking about. If I genuinely don't want to do it, then I don't do it, and I don't feel guilty about it. I don't know if it's an age thing as you get older and you start to see things differently. But I've just never had friends where they're always doing. I've never had friends like that. I guess because I'm not needy. I don't need people to give me rides. I don't need people to loan me money. I don't need people to sit on the phone and listen to me talk about my problems. I don't need any of that. I never did. I never did. And that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of times people are very codependent and they just can't do shit for themselves. And if that is a type of friend, well, I spot that early on and I no longer want to be friends with those type of people because I'm not codependent. I'm only interested in being friends with women who are self-sufficient. Even if they are going through something, they know how to pull themselves up out of it without having to ask me. Just like I know how to pull myself up out of something without having to ask them. Equally yoked. I don't know. Leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts, but that's really how I feel. You just get to a point where it's just like, no, what? No, I'm good. And I don't feel guilty about it anymore. The more peaceful your life becomes, I've noticed the more you start protecting that peace at all costs, especially because of how hard you had to work to obtain that peace in the first place, right? The cutoff game you had to have, like you probably had to cut off a lot of people, and those people that you cut off, it was probably really hard to do it, but you gathered the courage to do it, right? You probably have pulled yourself out of really bad financial times. Maybe you stopped overspending. Maybe you saved some money. Maybe you filed bankruptcy, right? But you put yourself in a position where you're no longer stressed out about money, right? You put yourself in a position where you are content with the life that you live. And when you develop that type of peace, right, you could get very protective over it. And in return, you stop allowing people to make you feel guilty for saying no. You stop tolerating certain things because the last thing you're going to do is allow it to destroy the peace that you work so hard to build. And that's where I'm at. At my big age, that's exactly where I'm at. And I no longer feel guilty. And like I said, it's crazy because in my 20s, I definitely used to let people make me feel guilty. I definitely would overextend. I definitely would people please. I would do all of the things. But I also didn't have peace back then either. And I think too, when you keep putting yourself in friendship dynamics where it's never equal, it's never reciprocal, it kind of hardens you in a sense because you start to realize, hey, why do I keep surrounding myself with people who always need me to do something for them, but I don't ever need anything from anyone else? And so you just start telling people no because you're like, well, shit, if I can figure it out for myself, you can figure it out for yourself too. And again, honestly, people who find that harsh, they're probably people pleasers. People who find that mean are probably people pleasers. But people who do not overextend, people who do not use people, people who know how to figure some ish out when things get tough on their own, they know exactly what I'm talking about. If I can figure it out, you can too. And I'm not going to feel guilty about it because the answer is no. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I can't wait to read what you guys have to say. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and join the Patreon. The link is down below in my description. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.